Hello and welcome to episode 43 of the Game Train podcast. I'm Callan Davison, and joining me this week is not Carl Smith. He's away at the moment, so we have another fill-in. We have Mark Santo. He's back.
G'day, how you doing, Cal?
Good. Welcome back to the Game Train, mate. Thank you for filling in for my co-host while he prances around the country touring at the moment.
Yeah, doing everything that we would like to be doing, but that's fine. It's all right. We're not jealous that he's on holiday because we've got so many great games to play.
Exactly. I'm actually really jealous of him at the moment because he's in the snow. He's on the snow tour, but we'll get a bit to that a bit later. But so on this episode, we have the review of the Nintendo Switch exclusive Octopath Traveler. Mm-hmm. Plus, we have all the latest news. We answer your questions, and again, we have our hype and lame trains.
Love the hype and lame trains. Don't
right.
forget the love. Love train is a thing too.
And the love, that's right. But before all that, let's go into the news this week. Digimon Survive is a new game that's coming out. That's right, Digimon is back. Are you excited for Digimon?
I have not been excited for a Digimon since I was about 7 years old and I dropped my purple Digimon into the toilet while I was about to go to the bathroom. That's how obsessed I was. I took it with me everywhere, and it just never worked again. So I can't say I'm that excited. Didn't even know it was a thing, to be honest. Well, what is it?
It is coming out on the Nintendo Switch and the PS4 next year. Mm-hmm. It looks like it is it's a RPG that switches between 2D and 3D. So that's all the news at the moment on that.
Sounds way too complicated it sounds way too sophisticated for a Digimon game. 2D and 3D.
Yep.
RPG.
Yep, so there's a bit going on there. All right, also, there is a limited edition PlayStation 4 Pro Spider-Man edition coming.
Yeah.
Bright red with the Spider-Man symbol on it. It looks awesome. Look, I'm excited for it. I'm not getting one because it's money that I'm not going to spend on another PlayStation. But for a new buyer that loves Spider-Man, it's the perfect thing.
Yeah, every time I look at special edition consoles, I think they're cool. Don't get me wrong, I know they're cool. I see them, I think that would look amazing, but it's always when I'm caught up in the hype of a game. Yep. And I can't wait for Spider-Man when it drops on the PS4 in just a couple of weeks' time now. So right now I'm looking at it and thinking, that looks cool as part of the advertising, but I don't normally have my PlayStation 4 set up against a red background with my red controller and my copy of the game. It's going to sit on my shelf. So I don't think I'd really like it on my entertainment unit. That being said, I mean, I've already got a PlayStation 4, but it is for the new buyers, I'm assuming, unless there's just collectors out there that want a nice red PS4.
That's right. Yeah, well, someone might love the colour red for whatever reason. They're just trying to deck out all their stuff in red.
I like red.
All right, so there's a new Mario Kart 8 Deluxe update. This one
came out of nowhere.
Yeah, this one adds Zelda Breath of the Wild content, so you can ride Link's motorbike.
Yeah, that bizarre bike that you got, I think, what is it called? The Grand Master Cycle or something along those lines?
Yeah, from the challenges or whatever it was.
Yeah, so when the new DLC for Zelda Breath of the Wild came out earlier this year, the Champions Ballad DLC, at the end, if you completed everything, you got a motorbike to run around with, which made no sense in the context of the world, but that's fine.
That's cool.
And now that's come to Mario Kart, along with the wheels and a specific glider, which I think you can attach to different cars.
Yeah, I think it's also Link's parachute, isn't it?
Yeah.
From Breath of the Wild. So
look, a nice little update. It's free, so you can't really complain about that.
No, you can't. No, and you know they added the Labo to Mario Kart the other week as well. Yeah. So they're still adding stuff to Mario Kart. Like some new tracks, so that's what would bring me.
Well, I was going to say, where do you think Mario Kart's going? Because this one, it's just a re-release. Sure, it had everything packed in, but it is the same game that came out on the Wii U.
Yeah.
Do we get a Mario Kart 9 by the time the Switch is done?
Yes, I reckon we get one next year. I reckon it'll be time for a new Mario Kart next year.
Nah, that Star Fox game's coming out, mate. Oh. That's the racer we all want for 2019. Don't worry about it.
I don't want a Star Fox race. I'm fine with Mario Kart 9.
Mate, after Mario plus Rabbids, you've got to have an open mind.
Or maybe they go down the Smash Brothers route of the ultimate Mario Kart in every single track that's ever been in Mario Kart. I know 8 Deluxe had a lot of tracks from the old ones, but I mean every single track in the entire thing in one super package.
Look, I don't really care so much about this. I would just like to be able to race as everyone, like Super Smash Brothers. Why can't I race as Captain Falcon in his Blue Falcon? Why can't I race as Samus? You know, it works so well with the Inklings and with Link and with Isabelle and all the others from Animal Crossing. I think that's probably where Mario Kart 9's going to go.
Yep.
Because I mean, we've seen how successful it can be. I know it was good as a test for DLC.
Yep.
But I'd be willing to... I'd rather race as Samus than some obscure Koopaling who I don't really care about.
Fair enough. Also, the Fallout 76 beta will be starting in October. So that's for people that have pre-ordered the game. It's going to be one area in the world, which I guess people assume would happen anyway.
Yep.
But I think it's a bit late to be happening in October with the game dropping in November.
Well, it either says that they're really rushing to the finish line or they're very, very confident in their servers. And we know that, obviously, the online of Bethesda is sensational. So I'm not too concerned in that regard. That being said, Fallout 76 didn't capture my attention at E3. I haven't pre-ordered it. I don't know anyone who has in my friendship group. So I would...
Actually, one of our Game Train fill-ins, Dave Pepper.
Has he?
Yes, he has.
Dave.
He ordered the Super Ultimate $300 edition that comes with the Power Armor helmet, so he's very excited for it.
That man has too much money to burn, right? After seeing his 4 Ninja Turtles figurines, that God knows how much money he spent on those. But anyway.
Have you seen his Jurassic Park room, though?
Yes.
Oh, my God. Hello, Dave, if you're listening.
He's on another level.
All right, and also Microsoft has announced their Gamescom plans. They are doing a Inside Xbox presentation, which isn't their full presentation like they'd normally do like an E3. It's more like a Nintendo Direct, a pre-recorded video that will be streamed online for Gamescom. And the big rumor that's coming out of that is that they're going to be starting to announce new Xboxes.
Yep. When you say new Xboxes, are we talking about versions of the Xbox One, or are you talking about Scarlet?
We're talking Scarlet.
Scarlet.
Yep.
Okay. Well, because I wanted to bring this up later as something that I'm super looking forward to as part of the hype train. But we've heard rumours for a long time that the new Xbox is going to have multiple versions. In fact, I'm pretty sure Microsoft said it themselves at E3 that moving forward, Xbox is going to be a platform which caters to different audiences with different SKUs.
Yes.
So fully appreciated that, but now we're getting a little bit more information.
Yeah, the rumor that dropped this morning actually is that they're going to release 2. One's called the Xbox Lite, or this is like what the rumor said, and it will be streaming only. So
that's not like a slim. It's not the same box just made smaller. It's something else.
They're calling it. Well, we don't know what it's going to be called yet, but the rumor says it's going to be like a light version. So you're going to have your heavy hardware version, and you're going to have the light version, which is just for streaming only. So it won't have the hardware that the let's say it's the Scorpio 2 or whatever they want to call it, Scarlet, Super Xbox, whatever, Xbox 2X, X2, any of those names. But yeah, so this one you're going to just stream your gameplay directly from the internet, which I don't fully get as a concept yet.
Well, I don't think we're ever going to get it in Australia because our NBN is so terrible. But
yes, but yeah, for the like Americans and all that have great internet, it could be a cheaper way of buying a console and getting access to everything.
Well, if you think about it, if you've got the option between buying, and mind you, the new graphics cards are coming out in 2019, if I'm not mistaken, the 1800 Xi or whatever NVIDIA is working on now. And I think it's the first time in a long time that brand new graphics cards have come out, you know, within 6 months to 12 months of when we're expecting new consoles. Normally there's a bit of a lag. So as for how powerful that first Xbox is, the super strong one, it might end up costing us in the realm of $700-800 here in Australia. And to think that there might be a light option which you could spend $200 on, but it doesn't work unless you've got a $100 a year subscription, that might be a really, really low barrier to entry for a lot of people that might not be willing to invest in an $800 box.
I don't think we'll ever see an $800 launch console for a new generation again after PlayStation 3 of their $1,000 console years ago, because it tanked pretty much.
I understand that, but I think Microsoft really failed with the Xbox One by not pushing that we are the most powerful console out there. They went for, and PlayStation 4 did this as well, it was an intermediate step. They could have gone all the way to the PlayStation 4 Pro and the Xbox One X, but they didn't because they knew it was going to be too expensive. So they sort of shirked on the power in favour of keeping that price to around $400-500. Whereas I think Xbox got its name based on its power and that's what they're going to have to go for this next box.
Well, the rumor also said that they're going to be launching in 2020, which I see as a foreseeable thing. Like, there's some stupid rumors going around that PlayStation wanted to launch the new PlayStation this year. It's too soon. It's too soon. The generation's not done yet.
Absolutely.
But who goes first? Does PlayStation or Xbox launch first? That's going to be the big one.
I would hazard a guess. I think Microsoft almost needs to launch first. But that being said, I still feel like if neither of them get their launch games right... I mean, to be honest, when people talk about starting a new generation, I don't feel like Microsoft's Xbox One has had enough good exclusive games for it to warrant even being a generation. I know that's an insult, but nothing, with the exception of Cuphead... What other first-party game... I'm not really into the Forzas. I don't feel like I've gotten a really good brand new Gears. I know it's on the way. I know Halo's on the way, but Halo 5 I didn't like. I thought it was very subpar. And so I'm really struggling to see at least PlayStation... And it's probably the same for PlayStation, admittedly. They did have... I never had a PlayStation 3, so when they brought out Last of Us, the Uncharted collection, Ratchet and Clank, I counted those as first-party games for me. But they also had Bloodborne. They've also had God of War. They've also had The Last Guardian. We know Spider-Man's coming. The Last of Us Part 2. We know that there's all these big first-party games. Ghost of Tsushima. It feels like they've got console-defining games. Whereas if somebody said to me, Xbox One... I'd be like, all right, great, Cuphead and Sea of Thieves.
Yeah. Well, I think Xbox has almost given up on this generation.
Yeah.
As they did at E3, they announced the 5 new studios they've acquired into Microsoft Studios.
Yep.
I think they're making a big push for the next generation. They lost this generation before the generation even started.
Yeah.
When they said they're online only, they weren't going to use discs and all that, and there was that big outrage from the community, and people sort of jumped ship to PlayStation. They'd lost before it even begun, and I think they realised this, so they're putting all their eggs now in the next generation, skipping this one in theory, and we'll see what happens with that.
See, I think you raise a really good point. It was marketed very poorly, and I feel like between the two press conferences, as bizarre as PlayStation's press conference was this year, making everyone move around and having to wait 15 minutes, at least I always felt like PlayStation's come across better because they got more games to show. Microsoft really pushed for more games this year, and they came off looking great, but... I'm surprised it's taken them this long to go the pre-recorded route that Nintendo's been doing for the past couple of years, just to make sure they get their stuff across in the best way possible. And the fact that they're going to do it at Gamescom, I think, is encouraging.
Well, I think with Gamescom, it's a bit different to E3, which E3's always been the big press conference as well. Gamescom hasn't had that, so they've gone, all right, we'll do a pre-recorded thing. We'll go of that. So it'll be interesting to see if Sony does something similar as well for Gamescom. I'm expecting another Nintendo Direct, probably in the next couple of weeks now. We're overdue for one.
Well, they said that they've got stuff to announce for the rest of the year.
I have to announce though? It's insane. Mario Party got announced at E3, which was like, what? And we've got Smash Brothers coming. We've got Pokemon coming. It's like, what else can you guys really actually trot out by the end of the year? I don't know. Yoshi's been pushed back to next year. Would we see a new new Super Mario Brothers sort of thing announced, or a collection of that, maybe Mario Maker? There's a lot that could sort of still happen, but it's like, when are they going to release this stuff?
True, and that being said, there are still a lot of really great indie titles which were shown off when the Switch was revealed, which I still haven't seen. Yep. I don't know where Wargroove is, I don't know where Flipping Death is. Maybe these things have come out and I've missed them on the eShop, but I'm pretty sure I haven't. So maybe it's along those lines. There's some great indie titles which...
Yeah.
We can just have to fill out the back half of this year. And I know everyone is very critical of Nintendo's 2018, but I think when we look back on it and we say, well, we got Smash Brothers, we got Pokemon, we got one of the better RPGs, old school Japanese RPGs in a long time, plus things like Mario Tennis, which was a bit of a fault. But
Mario Tennis... Donkey Kong, they've had an alright year. It's not as bad as people are making it. But anyway, we should wrap the news there. So, and that's the news. Let's go into the games we've been playing.
Cool.
What have you been playing at the moment, other than Octopath?
Well, I'm still chipping away at the DLC for Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle. because
Oh, right. I haven't played it. What's it like?
it's really interesting in that it's probably worth more than the $20 or so that they charged.
Okay.
Because as much as it does build upon what was there in the original game, the introduction of Donkey Kong and Cranky Kong is... It completely changes the gameplay. Donkey Kong can pick up any enemy, any ally, and just throw them around the map. He can also pick up any obstacle that's cover or whatever.
Okay.
So it completely changes the way you play, albeit still within this, turn-based strategy framework.
Yeah.
And, I mean, it's still as, charming and funny as the original game was.
Yeah.
The only thing I'll say is that the boss battles that I've had so far haven't been as great.
Okay.
The mid-boss that I just beat, he basically just runs away from you the entire time.
Oh.
He's sort of a coward. That is his character.
Yeah.
And, it's played up in a really funny CGI trailer.
Yeah.
But so far it hasn't been as, I want to say, well thought out or well designed in terms of the bosses.
Yep.
But I'm still halfway through that, so I won't give you my final verdict. And I finished Hollow Knight, which I'd been intending to play for so long, but I wanted to wait because I thought it was going to come to the Switch, and it did. Didn't 100% it, but I have beaten all the bosses. I finished the final boss, got the ending, and what a delight.
Wow, there's DLC coming now for that.
Yes. And that, to be honest, I think that's sort of a funny one because it's obviously a Kickstarter game.
Yeah.
And it did so well on Kickstarter that now its developers are sort of tied to making all these stretch goals. And I'm sort of a bit disappointed by that because as much as I'd love to get DLC, I'd rather they made a second game.
Yeah, yeah.
And, they stretched for so long to make sure it would get onto a Nintendo console. They have to stretch now for DLC. That's 1 or 2 years they could have spent making a brand new game, but absolutely beautiful. The art style is amazing. It handles like a dream. It's challenging.
Yep.
If you're into that, it's really, really challenging. And I'm writing a review at the moment for the website that I'm currently putting together, but it's one of those games where it really captures the joy of being lost.
Yep.
I don't think enough video games do that these days with how many waypoints there are, particularly in open world games.
Yep.
But when you drop yourself into that world for the first time, you don't have a map, you don't know where you're going, there's 4 exits on the first screen, and it literally just says, go on,
Yep.
go for it, see what you find. That's amazing. Like
It doesn't give you much, does it?
No, and
Yeah.
I mean, you learn along the way, and it is quite frustrating when you die, you leave all of your quote-unquote souls, for lack of a better word. Where you died and you've got to go back and beat like a Spectre version of yourself to get that money back. But if you die again, it's just gone forever.
Yep.
So it can be quite frustrating if you're in a tough spot. But other than that, I mean, it's fantastic. The world's vibrant, the characters are great, and it's just charming.
Yeah, it's good. I've had a lot of fun with it. I'm not finished with it yet. I'm 30-something hours into the thing now. I'm getting close to the end, I think, though.
Whereabouts are you?
I've taken out... I've met 2 of the dream things.
Oh, yes, we were discussing this.
Yeah.
You're not too far.
I'm not too far yet.
But we have to mention that it's made by Aussies.
Yeah, exactly. So, which is great to see. Like, a game that's successful from an Aussie developer. It's really, really good to see.
Yeah, and it's apparently selling very well on the Switch as well. But that's all I've been playing. Cal, what have you been up to?
Well, I went and finished Rise of the Tomb Raider. Mm-hmm. So, I'd been playing the first Tomb Raider, now I've jumped onto the second, so I finished that off the other day, which was really cool. I really enjoyed it. I was just doing it because I hadn't finished them before, and I wanted to lead into the third one, which this one actually quite does at the end of the game.
Yep.
How it finishes. So I thought it was great. A lot better than the first. What a sequel should be. It sort of takes everything that was good from the first, builds on that, and makes it better. So I'm hoping the third one will do that with the second one now. Take everything that made the second one so great, build on that, and hopefully Shadow of the Tomb Raider will be better again.
They are fantastic games. I mean, I played the first one before I'd ever played an Uncharted, and people kept saying it's Uncharted but with Lara Croft, but
I think it's better.
It adds, that's what I mean. It adds that little RPG elements to it where you actually feel like you're upgrading yourself, you feel like you're getting stronger along the way, which I don't think Uncharted does to any degree. And I really, really enjoyed so far what they've done with this reboot, and I'm looking forward to the third one.
Well, yeah, they've added so much exploration into this as well. Like, while Uncharted feels very like a linear path, bar that open world section in Part 4.
Yeah, that one section.
That one section. While Tomb Raider feels like there's still so much to go out and see and explore and check out, find secrets, hidden tombs, all that sort of fun stuff. So, and it looks like they're expanding on more of that in Part 3. A video was released this morning of just cruising through one of the big new open areas that they've made. They said it's like the biggest open area they've made in a Tomb Raider game yet. So that's going to be exciting to explore all that. I haven't watched the video because I don't want to spoil it all.
Fair enough.
for myself. But yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Also, I jumped back into World of Warcraft.
Why? Why, Cal? Why do it to yourself?
Because in 3 weeks' time, there is a new expansion coming, and I can't help myself.
Oh, God.
I can't help myself. I booted it back up. The pre-patch is now live, which is the lead-in to the new expansion. So they've changed everything in the game again. I felt so lost jumping back in. so lost. They've items squished again. So before you were doing like 100,000 damage or 10,000 damage, whatever. Now you're like doing 20 to 100 damage. It's just bizarre to see like all the numbers squished like that again. They've changed a bunch of the skills and talents, which they do every expansion, trying to streamline stuff down. I'm still feeling a little lost with everything, just trying to get my head around it all. I'm just doing a bit of the content that I missed over the last year and a bit, where I've pretty much quit the game. So I finished the Tomb of Sargeras raid. I just did that on the Looking for Raid mode, which is super easy mode. Now I'm doing the Argus raid, so I'm halfway through doing that on the Looking for Raid mode. So yeah, it's all right, you know.
It's all right, he says, to a game he's going to pour tens of hours into.
No, I'm just doing this just to get myself back into it, play the expansion, level up, so I can review it.
Fair enough.
On the podcast, but I don't have the time to play it hardcore at all anymore. Like, even joining a raiding guild and doing weekly raids, I won't have time to do that. So it'll be
I've never had time to play World of Warcraft. I still remember being in primary school when it came out, and two of my friends being obsessed with it. And I looked at them and I said, nah.
Oh, wow.
Nah,
yeah,
not doing it. Not for me.
I've been playing this game on and off for years. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to the new expansion in some ways, but it's probably the least expansion I've been looking forward to in just terms of the setting and things. I'm like, I feel like they could have gone in a different direction, maybe even gone with a WoW 2 route. But hey, you know, I'll check it out and review it in a few weeks' time. So
Cool.
Yeah, and the other one I jumped into was Final Fantasy 3. So
On the SNES.
On the SNES Mini, pulled out the old SNES Mini again and jumped on Final Fantasy 3. Yeah, playing through that at the moment. It's fun.
Why not?
It's fun. It's got that. It's old school.
Mate, Octopath is. You've been bitten by the JRPG.
Yeah. But I'm like 3 or 4 hours into it now.
How does it hold up? I haven't played it in years.
Yeah, look. We'll get onto how Octopath works and all that soon, but it still feels fine.
Yeah.
Like, I'd love a remake of this. Like, a fully, like, modernized remake. Like, not even...
like an Octopath remake, or a...
I mean, like a Final Fantasy VII remake of this.
Really?
Yeah.
But that's still like 4 years away, so...
Yeah, I know.
When are we getting Final Fantasy
I think
3?
the weakest thing of Final Fantasy 3 is the writing.
Okay.
Some of the writing is just awful. I just like to see him just take the same story structure and everything that happens, but just rewrite a lot of it all and just remake it all from the ground up.
Yep.
You know, it's got a great like antagonist in Kefka. Like, he's just evil.
Okay.
You know, and yeah, it's got great music. Like, it's probably one of my favorite soundtracks of the Final Fantasy series. It's just a great classic game. So I've just been getting into that again. I'm going to actually attempt to finish it this time. I've never finished it. So I've gotten quite far into it in the past, but never rolled credits. So that's what I'm looking forward to trying to do sometime.
Well, you've got your extended cord now, so that's,
That's
you can actually
right.
sit on your couch and comfortably play, rather than have to worry about being 2 feet away from the TV.
Yep, that's right. So also we should keep moving on with this.
Yeah.
Right, so let's go into the shout-outs. So, because he's not here this week, we're going to shout out Carl.
Woo!
Hey,
Carl.
He's touring as the Lyrical at the moment, as he does, which is his job. Mm-hmm. He is doing his In the Cold tour. He spells cold with several O's to maybe embellish on the cold.
Yeah, just to emphasise how bloody... It's below 0, and every single O represents 1 degree below 0.
Yep. So, we'll shout him out. So, he's got a few dates here coming up over the next week, actually. So, if you happen to be in Falls Creek this weekend, he's playing at the Frying Pan Inn on Friday, the 27th of July, and Sunday, the 29th of July.
Cool.
And if you're in Melbourne, he's here next week, and he's playing at the Horse Bazaar. I think that's how you pronounce it, on Tuesday, the 31st of July.
I'm trying to read upside down. Yeah, Horse Bazaar, yeah.
Yeah. So he's playing there Tuesday, the 31st of July. So if you're in Melbourne, go check him out. I'll be there supporting him.
As you do. What a friend. Just a good bloke.
Yeah, so I thought would give him a shout out on his tour at the moment. They're about halfway through. They've played Canberra and stuff. And he's joined the slopes as well at the moment. So he's going snowboarding or skiing or whatever he's doing up there.
Yeah, living his best life. Why not?
Yep. All right. Well, we should move into the review now. And this week, it's Octopath Traveler.
Who will you take on your journey? By what means will you overcome the challenges set before you? How will your characters grow and rise to tackle the formidable foes that stand in their way? In Octopath Traveler, every choice is yours to make.
Right, Octopath Traveler is developed by Square Enix and published by Nintendo in Australia, and if you're in Japan, it's published by Square Enix. It is a RPG, but taken the old school roots of Final Fantasy 3/6, which we spoke of before, that old pixel style look, that 2D look, and it follows the stories of 8 people with their own stories, rather than, I guess, in your normal RPG, which is like, man, how do you explain this? There's 8 separate stories.
There are 8 separate stories which start very much individually.
Yes.
And come together at the end, rather than you get a glimpse of one really big story with one character and just have support characters come in throughout. You can pick any sort of starting point that you want out of these 8 characters and see how the story develops as you come together.
Yeah, that's the thing. You can play this game a variety of ways. There are 8 characters. You could just choose one of the 8 at the start of the game and just go through the game just as that character if you wanted to. Or you can pick up 3 others and go just with your party of 4. Or you can do what I did and go around, pick up all 8 people into your party and start playing it that way.
That's what I did too. It seems like that's the only way to do it. You want to get a taste for what all of them are about.
Exactly, and each character plays differently. So you've got like a warrior, you've got like a healer, you've got like a mage, well, it's a scholar in this.
Yes.
And then you've also got like a thief, and then you've got others like a dancer, which is like a buffing class. You've got a merchant, which is also like a buffing class, but a bit different in its own way.
She's weird. I don't like Tressa, but anyway, we'll get into that later.
Like they've done something a bit different with all 8 characters. And then they've also got these things called path actions. So the thief can steal off townsfolk, the warrior can challenge people, the scholar can scrutinize people, find out a bit about them, and locate hidden items and things like that.
Yeah, they all have a special ability that is specific to them, and I suppose you can allow yourself to become the player that you want, or pick players that suit your game style. So you might like to be the good guy in video games and decide, all right, I'm going to buy everything for a cheaper price, so you have Tressa, the merchant, in your party to try to get 10% off. Or you can say, I'm going to be the bad guy and steal everything, so you play as Therion. Yeah. But if you fail at stealing, specific items a number of times, your reputation in a town might be completely destroyed, and then you've got to pay a hefty sum to bring that reputation back up for the barman to start spreading good rumours about you.
Yeah. So I went with the Therion approach.
Yes, of course, you were the bad guy.
That steal is just amazing. You just walk into a town and just go right and just pretty much clear out the entire town.
We don't want to sound like we're in favour of crime, but in the game, it's an excellent way to get ahead.
Yeah, it's like rather than spending the money on it, like, I don't know, I felt like there was no downside to the stealing, bar the reputation thing, but that hardly happened to me.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like the upside is way too big for what the threat of the downside is, although I did fail with my reputation a couple of times in town when I had both Primrose the Dancer as well as Therion in my party, because both of them have somewhat negative class actions, which is to try and allure someone to join your party or to steal. So, and it is quite a hefty price that you have to pay to fix your reputation. That being said, my brother, when he just started, managed to steal an axe off somebody that was like a 3% chance.
The golden axe?
I have no idea what it was, but he was just telling me about it. Apparently, he hasn't found anything in the game since
Yeah.
that has come anywhere close to being that powerful.
Yeah, that's what I felt. I felt like I was getting way more powerful items earlier in the game, which made the game a bit easier. But let's get on to the combat. So the combat is your turn-based style.
Yep.
Which, most classic JRPGs have.
With a bit of a twist.
With a bit of a twist. This one's got the boost system in this one. So you get a point every turn, and then when you can use those points to then boost your attacks, whether you do extra damage or multiple attacks or being able to do your ultimate. So you have to then start choosing, right, do I want to save up my points for a huge attack? Do I want to spend a bit of points earlier on? There's lots of different ways it sort of incorporates into your battle and your strategy on how you go forward. And I quite like the system. I had a lot of fun with it.
Yeah.
Coming up with just different strategies. I felt it promotes thinking 2 or 3 turns ahead on how you want the battle to sort of unfold, and sort of setting up like a strategy, which I'll do over like 2 or 3 turns, then unleashing like ridiculous amounts of damage in quick succession.
I mean, it does really stimulate or ask you to think critically about every single fight. And it can be, I mean, even as we're talking about it, it can seem overwhelming.
Yeah.
That being said, the game does quite a good job at introducing you into every aspect of the fight pretty slowly so that you build your knowledge. But I think the boost system, which you were talking about, is perfectly complemented by the braking system. So while you can boost your attacks, your enemies also have a shield which you have to break. So they're weak to certain attacks, and you have to exploit that and use your boost correctly so that once their shield is broken, you can also then use your boost to inflict the most damage possible. So it's a real give and take. It's a bit of a tug of war. And it's a really, really satisfying system once you get into the rhythm of it, and once you work out how to completely destroy enemies with it.
Yeah, with the breaking and the weakness system, again, that's also, you'd go like, right, I need to break this guy before his turn. So then you'd go like hard at doing that, because once they're broken, the enemy's sort of knocked out for like a full turn. So if they're about to hit you with a powerful attack, you want to break them as quick as possible. Again, using your boost maybe to inflict a couple of lighter attacks, but to break their shield quicker, and then you sort of roll in and do the heavy damage. It can work a lot of ways, and I felt, they both systems complement each other perfectly, and just how it's sort of executed in this game.
In terms of a turn-based strategy battle system, and admittedly, I mean, if we're comparing it to things as basic as... I don't want to go into other JRPGs because they can be quite complex in itself, but I feel like this is a really, really good middle ground between some of the more complex JRPGs and something as basic as Pokemon, where you are... and even maybe South Park, The Stick of Truth and Fractured But Whole is probably a better example, where that felt a little bit too basic, whereas this just has that extra level, which even though it might be a bit daunting... really does make it for a much more satisfying experience.
Yeah, it adds a lot of strategy to it. And then some of the bosses later on, they start changing their weaknesses mid-battle, and that adds like an extra layer of...
I have not got to that bit, so...
Oh yeah, have fun when that starts happening. You feel like you've got it sorted out. It's like, right, this guy's weak to ice, so you start smacking him with all your ice spells. Next minute, he like changes, and it's all question marks on what his weakness is again. So you got to guess, and it might be lightning that time. It changes things up, or it blocks you from breaking him in certain ways. Yeah, that's another.
I've already come up against that, and that can be so frustrating at times. But it is, and that being said, you really need to be on your toes. We said critical thinking, but if you're not doing your most optimized attack patterns, this game can punish you. It will beat you. I mean, I've had a fair number of game overs during some boss battles. I know that you might be a better strategizer than me, Cal, so you might not have the same problem. But a lot of the time, if you don't have the right party members as well, as we said, you can unlock all 8. Sometimes it can be a real struggle, particularly if the character you pick initially, which for my case was Primrose, the dancer, isn't effective against a boss. Not only do you have her stuck in your party or locked in your party, but you also have to have the character whose story element you're unpacking at the time. So sometimes you can only really have 2 extra characters, which are super effective.
Yeah, I felt that party composition was a big thing in this game, in that setting out a party that will, be able to counter most enemies. So you'd try and have someone be able to use a bow, someone that can use magic, someone that can use swords, daggers. You got to be able to counter everything that the enemy throws at you, because sometimes you might be able to only use 2 different attacks to break that enemy. If you don't have those attacks in your party for whatever reason, you're pretty much stuffed in that fight.
Yeah.
So,
You start throwing items at them like the different gems.
well, what does help towards this later on in the game is that you have the ability to unlock a second job.
Yeah.
So then you can then make your thief also use magic as well. So then, as well as being able to go with your daggers against an enemy, then you can also use like frost and lightning, etc., which adds a lot more flexibility to then who you put into your party. I didn't find the game overly challenging. I've now finished the game. The hardest bits for me have been the optional bosses, which I've gone for.
Yep.
One took me quite a while until I worked out a proper strategy, but everything else was pretty much, first go, smash them through. But then the party I was using, I made so it could counter numerous things. I would have 2 spellcasters to be able to break enemies that are weak to magic a lot quicker, and that goes a long way as well to, pushing through it quite easily. But, I had to think about especially one of the fights that I got stuck on for a while, on how to counter this boss. And once I figured it out, it wasn't too bad. Yeah. So
I found that when I was dying, and it was largely because I'm a bit stupid as well, and I thought, I want to up, actually, once you level up quite quickly initially, but once you get through that initial chapter for all the characters, leveling up becomes a much more arduous process.
Yes.
And when I was taking, characters that were 5 levels under the recommended level into a boss battle for whatever character it was, I was really struggling then. That's you really have to optimize your party if you're going to get through that way.
Yes.
Which is where I kept bashing my head against a brick wall effectively.
Yep.
So that's why I sort of met that struggle. But that being said, if you're selective with which story elements you want to follow, I think that can be a lot easier.
Yeah, the way I sort of did it is that, so each character in this game has 4 chapters.
Yep.
And chapter 1 is picking up everyone in your party, intro chapter. And then the levels jump quite substantially. So by the time you've picked up everyone through the first loop of the map, let's say, you're about level
mid-teens,
11 to 15, around that sort of gap. The next level of mission requires level 20 plus.
Yep.
So you pretty much have to grind, go out, find a cave, kill monsters for a while to level up a bunch of characters up to a certain threshold to be able to push forward. And this happens every time you go through your chapters.
Yep.
Which does get a bit frustrating at times that you're not ready to keep moving on through the game. It slows things down quite a bit.
Especially when it's a game that is so broad in terms of its story. I think if you have a linear story where it's just the one character and you're focusing on leveling them up, it's fine.
Yep.
But because this character has 8 separate protagonists and you really want to engage with all of their stories ultimately, because there's so much content there, it can be a bit frustrating when you've got to grind for half an hour to an hour just to get to a stage where you can do it. And I fully appreciate that. I understand that. The battle system for me has so far kept things entertaining enough.
Yep.
Admittedly, I'm nowhere near as far in the game as you are. So I can see it being a little bit frustrating. And the one thing that irks me more than anything is the way, there's added layers in terms of what you can equip for your characters.
Yes.
So it's not just a standard RPG leveling system. You can get better swords, better weapons, better armor, 3 different kinds of armor. You can equip earrings that might make you luckier or have critical hits.
Yep.
And every time, if you don't have the best stuff, or you are changing party members a lot, you've got to take them from the ones you sub out and put them on the ones you sub in, which is a bit of an arduous process in and of itself.
I felt it was annoying that your main character, the first character you choose, is locked because you have 8 characters, you've got parties of 4, but then you've got this uneven balance where you could have really set up 2 parties of 4 that you could switch between, while this one you can only add 3 people in, and then you've got that odd number, and the players that you have benched don't get experience points at all. It would be nice if they got maybe half, so then they're slowly leveling up too.
Yep.
So I felt I was doing sort of subbing people in and just trying to keep everyone around the same sort of level.
Yep.
While I went through the game, so I wouldn't have to sort of grind as much, bring someone up 10, 15 levels, which was just painful to do.
But I suppose that might also be good if you do it a different way to us. And this is why it's great, because the game lets you play the way you want. It never forces you to go to any of these characters' chapters. So if you're not necessarily as interested in their story, you're You don't have to do them at all, I'm assuming, unless you
Yeah.
want 100% the game. So,
Yes.
I mean, I'm stuck with Primrose, but I've finished every character's second chapter, and I left hers last.
Yes.
Whereas now I've got a Primrose that's, I think, level 37 or 38.
Yep.
But I've got Tressa, my merchant, who is level 18 or 19, because I just can't stand her. So
Yeah.
it is hard to try and keep everyone at that same level. But
Yes.
hopefully, once I get to the further into the third layer of story, if I bring Tressa back, she might upgrade quickly
Yeah.
against tougher enemies.
Yeah,
Assuming
look-
she doesn't die.
Yeah, look, I had Therion as my main, and I've actually kept him throughout the whole game now, because actually once you finish the chapter 4, you can sub him out if you want.
Oh, okay, cool.
I've still got him actually in my party, just because I just sort of like him, and
He's cool, yeah.
He's my highest level character of like 70-something now.
Oh, wow.
So, and with his sub job, which I'm not going to spoil for anyone, I've made him an absolute weapon now.
Lovely.
Yeah, which is great. But
It's fun being OP.
let's talk a bit about the side quests quickly. There are side quests apart from your mains. This is something I had a bit of an issue with in this game, in that you'd rack up all these side quests, and in your journal, it would just give you one line about that side quest, but would give you really no hint on where to go or what to do with it. And I found myself accidentally completing side quests without even realizing I'd like half completed it, or having the item for it. It just felt a bit frustrating for me that there is a lot of side quests. You're probably looking at about 40 to 50 side quests in this game.
Oh, yeah, there's heaps.
And I haven't gone and done them all because of just how frustrating it would be that the journal just doesn't give you a great rundown on where you need to go to complete the quests.
Yep. I mean, we were talking about this just before we started, and I brought up the point that the side quests don't even feel necessary. I mean, for me, I'm somebody that, as much as I love this game, I'm not going to 100% this game. I've never 100%ed a JRPG just because there's too much to do.
Yep.
And so for me, I do like interacting with the NPCs, finding out what their problems are. If something just, dawns on me and I know I've got that item or whatever, great. But you don't necessarily level up very quickly. You just sort of build your reputation within the town and get a bit of gold, or you might get an item. So for me, I quite like that they're just there, even though I'm never going to necessarily do them because it's world building. Mm-hmm. But that being said, if you are a completionist or you are somebody that likes to try out everything that a game has to offer, I can understand why it would be frustrating.
I think this game is quite a perfect game for the Switch in its way, in this type of game it is, because I went through this whole game, like chapter after chapter after chapter.
Yep.
And with it being split into chapters like that, it's quite perfect for the Switch in that you can pick it up, do a chapter, which takes about an hour and a bit per chapter, and then sort of maybe go do something else, put your Switch down, go do whatever. I found, because the way I played the game was just back to back to back to back, it got quite repetitive.
Okay.
In that you go into a new area, a new chapter, there'll be a big story bit that maybe goes for 20 minutes. You go through, you do a dungeon, you beat a boss, bit of story bit, you're done.
Yep.
And it was like that over and over and over again. And sometimes my eyes would just glaze over, and I'd be like, on some of the less interesting stories in the game.
Yes, and that's what I particularly found with Tressa, the merchant, and why I will not be doing another bit of her story. And that's what I don't think the game is necessarily designed for you to play every single character's story. I think it wants you to pick the ones you like and just focus on them, because I mean, the level cap, say, for some of the the recommended level for some of the second chapter stories is low 20s, 22 to 24. My character was in the mid-30s by the time I got to those. So it's a breeze to get through them. So I don't think it necessarily wants you to do it that way.
Yep.
And that's why I've changed up the way I'm going through this game at the moment. But I can understand why you might start to think it gets a bit repetitive and boring.
Or I wanted to go through every character's chapters and everything because I wanted to see how this whole story linked together, because it starts out as 8 different stories.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much how it plays out through the entire game.
Yep.
In that when you do complete all the chapter 4s, everyone's completed their own little story. There is no moment during that where they all get together.
What?
All of them.
They don't have their little Avengers moment where
They don't have their Avengers
Iron
moment
Man
in the
and
main
Thor
story.
start joking? No,
and that's...
Don't tell me this, Cal. I wanted to finish this. Now I've got less motivation.
There's still motivation.
Yeah.
There's still motivation. Because in saying that, all their stories are linked through different threads that do pop up throughout the game. And then you start to put it together in your head. All right, so this is actually linking through to this.
Yep.
Some people might not like that. I think it goes okay that way. I still would have liked to see that payoff.
It's almost like an Arrested Development season 4. Where
Pretty much. But there is something special once you have finished everything.
Okay.
Right? But I won't go into what that is or
right.
how that all comes together.
Would you say it's satisfying enough for the 50 plus hours you put into it? Long pause.
I don't know.
This is not a technical glitch. This is just a long considered pause.
Because, oh man, I don't want to spoil too much what happens at the very end.
You just got to say, well, was it worth it?
I enjoyed the game a lot.
That's all you need to know.
I thought it was a unique way of doing it, and yeah, I knew from the start that they weren't all going to have that Avengers moment, but I still played through it all. But then I was kind of happy what happens after you've done everything. Okay. Yeah, which is a very optional thing you can go do.
Well, look, I'm again nowhere near. I haven't 100%. I haven't finished every single story. I'm about halfway through the game. I am enjoying it so far, very much so. I'm going to obviously finish it. A little bit disappointed they don't have their Avengers moment, but I think overall, it's just good fun.
Yes.
So I really enjoy the combat, and it's so pretty to look at. I think the only thing we've actually mentioned about its visuals so far is that it's sort of inspired by Final Fantasy. But
of course, yeah.
Ultimately, it's like Final Fantasy sprites in this diorama pixelated world with heaps of bloom lighting and a really shallow depth of field, and it's...
I mean, that's depth of field, yeah.
But it's cool. It looks great, and honestly, it's almost like if your imagination was going at 100% during the 16-bit era, this is what the world sort of looked like.
Yeah. Look, it's got that... the art style is very unique, and then when you fight a boss in the battle screen, the boss is like this big, over-exaggerated thing, which looks really cool. The bosses actually have some great designs too. And of course, the music, I didn't mind the music. They've got that sort of... It's what you'd expect in a JRPG.
I thought the music was fantastic.
Yeah. It's got, your guitar-y sort of music for your battles. You've got sort of pan-fluty music for, quiet towns.
Yeah.
It just works. They've gone and captured that, I guess, nostalgic feel of your old JRPGs and put it into this. And that's what it is. It's like this trip down nostalgia lane, but with all these sort of, I guess, modernised sort of systems involved.
Yeah. Oh, look, I think after 30 years or however long they've been around, Square Enix know how to make a JRPG, so...
That's right.
They did a very, very good job.
I guess, what will you score this out of 10?
Oh, look, it's pretty early for me. I mean, I'm not all the way through, but I mean, just initially, I'm enjoying the game a lot more than I thought. Mm-hmm. I don't think it's by any means perfect.
Yep.
But I would probably give it, mid 8s at the moment.
Okay.
I mean, I don't think it's... it might bump up to a 9 by the time I'm finish it if I enjoy the way everything weaves together.
Yep.
But I must say, some of the stories in this are fantastic.
Yep.
And I wasn't expecting that level of depth, particularly with Primrose, Cyrus, the Scholar.
Yes.
I quite like Ulbricht's Tale of Revenge as well. They're just really, really fantastic stories, with the exception of Tressa the Merchant, who just wants to go out and be a better merchant. Sorry, I keep just ripping on Tressa, but, I hate her. With the exception of her, and maybe Ophelia, who is quite a fun character to play, although her story is simply, I am a sister of the church going around to bring this flame to 3 other churches. They're all quite complex storylines, and that aspect I really enjoyed. So if they find a way, and I'm already seeing it, to weave those together in a really meaningful way, I will probably like this game enough to give it a 9. How about you?
Yeah, look, I found the stories were quite good. There are those threads that weave it all together. Yep. Which adds a bit of sort of depth that you got to look out for those things, but then you go, oh yeah, okay, right, that's kind of cool how that sort of connects to that.
Does it all link to one big bad guy?
In a way.
That's all right. That's all I want to know.
Yeah. But you got to find those threads, and then you got to move on. But there is links to something happening.
I want my Thanos, baby. Where's my Thanos?
There are links to something bigger happening in the world.
Yep.
But yeah, I found that, the disappointing things for me were the side quests.
Yep.
I was let down by that. And as I said, it does get a bit repetitive, but the way I was playing it was quite sort of, I was putting in 10 hours a day into this thing.
Oh, jeez.
So
full-time job level.
Yeah. And then it did feel at times a little too easy that I'd roll into a battle and smash through it. Yep. But the good things, the graphics, the nostalgia feel, the weaving stories, and I've given it an 8.9 out of 10.
Beautiful.
Yes. All right, and that was Octopath Traveler.
8 travelers, 8 adventures, 8 stories await.
So, this week, because Carl's not here, we aren't doing Games of Our Lives. Instead, we're going back to our backtrack segment, which is This Week in the History of Gaming.
What we're gonna do right here is go back. Way back. Back into time.
Backtrack this week on the 29th of July in 1993.
All right. I was one.
You're one! Oh my gosh. Wow. Ecco the Dolphin released on Sega Genesis.
What a game.
Did you play much Echo, or did you play Echo?
No. I know what Ecco the Dolphin is, but I've never played Ecco.
I really enjoyed this game back in the day. I don't know, there was something about this dolphin game where you just sort of cruise around as this dolphin. You can do jumps out of the water, flips, just cruise around, you sort of use your sonar to find things.
Yeah.
It was a really cool sort of stylized game. Like, you know, you go, oh, it's a dolphin game. It was fun. I really enjoyed it. And I enjoyed the sequel, which I think came out the year after, Echo 2. And it was actually quite a challenging game too. It was, they somehow made this game friggin' difficult. But,
it's like Donkey Kong Country level of underwater level.
yeah, like, it was like with a lot of games back in the day, though. Like, they just seemed so much more difficult. I guess we weren't given the checkpoints and the sort of lenience and things like we were in gaming these days. But this was just this... I don't know, some of the later levels in this were friggin' hard. But yeah, they made an entire game when you're a dolphin.
I mean, we would never see that these days. You can't imagine, at least not on the scale of a AAA title. I'm not saying Ecco the Dolphin was a AAA title.
No, but
yeah. It's funny that would have been a $60 game way back when.
Yeah.
And, you know, something like that today would probably come out for $10 if anyone was actually going to buy it. So it's amazing, maybe as a retrospective look at how our value in games has changed now that we've got these big open worlds and God of War just so perfect.
Did you see the trailer for Maneater?
No, I haven't.
Have you heard of Maneater?
I feel like I have, but I don't know why.
So it was shown off at E3. You play as a shark.
Oh.
It's an open world shark game.
Okay.
And you have to eat people off the beach and off piers.
So you're basically Jaws, is what you...
Pretty much. And you can level up your shark. So he gets sharper teeth. He can jump further out of the water, swim faster.
Is there some like amazing underwater crustacean that just runs a shop and sharpens his teeth with a little file?
I don't know.
How do you get that upgrade?
I feel like that's what they'd do with Ecco the Dolphin if it was to come out these days. And that would have like... You'd upgrade your sonar and you'd jump further out of the water and you'd become like this super dolphin.
Super Dolphin.
That's right. Super
Make
dolphin.
him the next character in Super Smash Brothers. I don't know.
That's right. Oh, look. I'm excited for Maneater because I think it looks interesting. A bit of a twist on the open world thing that you're playing as a shark.
Yep, why not?
For all those people that want to live out their Jaws fantasies.
Is it open water or open world? What would you count
I
it?
think it'd be open water.
Yeah.
Because you ain't walking on land unless you get an upgrade like land legs, and then you walk out into land.
Maybe the shark can just like pay 8 people to carry him around on land and eat people.
Or maybe the town floods, and that's how you get around.
That would be great.
So, yeah. But, that's this week's backtrack. There wasn't actually much going on this week in the history of gaming, funnily enough.
Hey, but Ecco the Dolphin
Ecco
is
the
a
Dolphin
great number one.
It's a great, it's a old school classic. Well, to me anyway. It's I got fond memories of that game.
Evidently.
All right, so on to our questions this week. So, as always, people can write into us at www.gametrainpodcast.com, facebook.com/gametrainpodcast. You can write in there, or you can find us on Instagram at gametrainpodcast.com or Twitter at gametraintalk. But yeah, so Carl actually wrote in a while ago actually, when he had time off.
Write a letter to himself.
He had time off earlier in the year when he couldn't talk. And we had Mark and Dave fill in for him. Mm-hmm. He actually wrote a question in which we didn't use because I think Reef was still sending in hundreds of questions to us. But yeah, so we thought we'd actually use Carl's question this time. So thank you, Carl. I know he got a little annoyed that we never used his question.
Okay,
so
fair enough.
This should cheer him up a little. He asks, what is your biggest accomplishment in gaming?
Oh, jeez. Oh, biggest.
Yeah, so it could be
Ever.
anything. Like, it could be a boss you've beaten, a game you finish. It could be just, I don't know. It could be anything. This is pretty much his question.
Yeah, this is rough. I mean, do you have something in mind? I mean, I think, achievement-wise, my greatest achievements came before achievements and trophies.
Yep.
Ever since they've been around, I've almost felt like I've never fully clocked a game.
Okay,
Even
yeah.
though they're there, and I know that you can, actually accurately measure what you've done, I would say that my biggest achievement, and is, if I harken back to when I was a kid, is probably getting the 120 stars in Super Mario 64.
Wow, that's a good one. That's a good one.
Because to do that as a kid, when I wasn't buying games every other week,
Yeah.
that felt significant to me. But in terms of probably the most painstaking collectathon, mine were the feathers in Assassin's Creed 2.
Yep.
Because the first time I went around and got them, I missed one.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was determined, because I only had one to go, so I checked the location of every feather again to find that last feather.
Wow, that's intense.
That was like borderline OCD, though. I wouldn't
Yeah.
really call that an achievement so much as a real slight on my personality.
Yeah, right, okay.
So yeah, let's go with the happy 120 stars in Mario 64 as like a 5 to 6 year old. That was good.
Yeah, see, I've never platinumed a game or anything like that. It's
Never, not one.
No.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I just roll credits, mate, and move on.
Okay, fair enough.
That's how I go these days. I got close on God of War.
Yep.
And I think some of the Assassin's Creed games I've gotten quite close.
Yep.
Ni no Kuni I got close as well. But I just, it's just getting those last 1 or 2 trophies is just annoying.
It's annoying when there's things in games like Last Guardian, where one of the achievements is literally based on you being so bad at every puzzle that you have to get advice from the game's narrator.
Yes,
Every single time.
going a bit far, isn't it?
Who's going to waste their time doing that? And then there's speed runs where you also got to beat it in under 4 hours. Get out of here.
Yep.
Yeah, not a fan.
Yeah, no. So for mine is actually something from World of Warcraft years ago.
Okay.
So I was in a big raiding guild.
When you clocked over your 2000th hour, is it?
Yeah.
When you spent more than an entire adult year of your life in World of Warcraft?
I was in quite a hardcore raiding guild back in the day. This is back in the 40-man raiding days that you need 40 people to do a dungeon.
You're speaking gibberish to me right now.
You need 40 people to go do one of these big raid dungeons. And I was in one of the top Australian guilds that will always pushing new content. And this one, we actually got an Oceanic first. So out of all the Oceania realms, we're the first lot to down this one boss.
Okay.
It was so friggin' hard. We probably spent, as a collective group, 30 to 40 hours on this boss.
Wow. One boss.
That's over a couple of weeks, though, of attempts.
Yeah, well, I would hope so.
Like, so many attempts. Like, it was just the most insane thing ever. Like, and just the elation of finally beating it, and that you needed everyone to work as 40 people to work as a cohesive team to be able to beat this thing. And yeah, it was just insane. Like, I couldn't believe it when we did it, and just the amount of time we put in of trying to beat this thing, it was just out of control. And that's probably it. Yeah, we got like the #1 Oceanic Guild and stuff like that. And yeah,
I've now that I've had more time to think, I've got 2 more. Can I
Okay.
say 2 more?
Yeah, sure.
At one stage, my cousin and I had the longest winning streak in the world in AFL Live
Wow.
online.
Yeah.
57 games.
Yeah.
It got to a point where we were winning so much that we had to let other teams kick goals on us. Because it was unfair, we had 2 people on our team, so you could actually work together to manipulate your way
To
around
move
the ball.
yeah.
So it got to a point where we were so lazy, we were just on our laptops and on our phones until this guy got a lead on us so good that we couldn't get back, and yelling ensued. So that's one. And also, for a very, very brief amount of time, I had the #1 score in the world for Katy Perry's TGIF on Guitar Hero Live.
What?
Yeah. I'll get the photo.
Wow. Okay.
Does that count? Is that better than Mario 64?
Yeah, they're all great accomplishments. But yeah, wow, that's
I can't believe I didn't think of those before when you asked me.
yeah, no, that's yeah.
They're up there for life achievements, not just in video games. My
Wow.
God.
Yeah, no, but thanks, Carl, for writing in on that one. Actually, I have to ask Carl his. I think it'll be something related to Frostbite on the Atari or something.
Okay.
He's got some sort of...
Way back when.
Yeah, no, because he played like a re-release of it years ago on his Xbox and got some ridiculous high score on it. And,
Okay.
And stuff like that. Or, like, he'd invite people around and he'd challenge them to high scores and he'd be like, why are we playing this whole game? I don't know, he has to go through it on the podcast again. But yeah, thanks for that, Carl. Wow. Jeez, world records, hey?
Well, I don't have it anymore.
Yeah.
It's because it was literally the second day that it had been out.
Yeah, nice. All right, well, that brings us through towards the end of the episode. But first, we have to go through the trains.
The trains, toot toot.
And the first one is the lame train.
The lame train.
Mate, what's your lame train this week?
My lame train isn't necessarily attached to any news per se, but it has to do with the new Call of Duty, which is coming out at the end of the year.
Yeah?
I don't think...
Black Ops 1111?
Yes. I don't think there's ever been a more disappointing package put together and tried to be charged to the consumer. Wow. We live in an era where multiplayer games are free, like Fortnite.
Yes.
Right? And there are so many free-to-play games out there that Activision has gone to I used to love the campaigns in Call of Duty. So they have completely stripped out the campaign.
Yep.
They're focusing only on multiplayer, and yet they're going to charge us $60 just at the start, just for the price of entry. And then you know that Call of Duty needs more money for maps, more money for whatever else they decide to sell you, whether it be loot box-wise or otherwise.
Yep.
Just for you to have fun in that game. Mm-hmm. And I think, and I know that Call of Duty is constantly the best-selling game that there is, every year on year.
Yeah.
Maybe with the exception of Grand Theft Auto. Who knows where that sits.
Grand Theft Auto 5 keeps going, and that's insane.
But I feel like following the revolution of games like PUBG and Fortnite, I think the paradigm has shifted. People might still buy this one because they remember Call of Duty, but I think if they have to pay somewhere between $60 and $100 just for the price of entry.
Yeah.
For a game that then requires you to pay more.
Yep.
I don't think it stacks up against, the fun of something like Fortnite or the free fun of, the PUBG or whatever it may be. So I think that game is stacking up to be more and more disappointing as we get closer to its release date.
I played it at E3, actually.
Don't get me wrong, it still looks great, it still handles great, it's one of the tightest first-person shooters around, but I hate the fact that they've stripped out the campaign.
Yep, same.
And
see,
I don't think there's anything to fill that void.
I got World War II last year. That was good. That was good. The campaign, that was great. That was the best thing I thought about that game. You know? And then to see them drop that, that was pretty disappointing. Like, dropping their campaigns, because they've actually been really good structured campaigns.
And they're never the longest games.
6 to 8 hours.
But that's okay. At least you've got something to do to get you into the rhythm of Call of Duty. It provides a lot more context for the multiplayer as well.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Because you know the world that you're fighting in, whereas this is just a simple multiplayer game, which again is fine, but I think the barrier to entry price-wise is a bit steep.
Yep. My lame train this week is my co-host Carl.
Oh, mate, throw him under the bus.
Yeah. No, he's getting to hang out and go skiing and snowboarding and play live music in bars and drink and have fun. Yep.
That sounds like a love train. He's having a great.
Yeah, I'm missing. I don't get to do this.
You're
That's
just
the lame
jealous.
Train.
Oh my god!
That he gets to go to all this exciting, fun stuff, and So
you being FOMO is your lame train.
Pretty much. Yeah. Yep. All right. So now on to the love train.
Love train. Well, mine. And I'm not too sure if you've already spoken about this on the podcast, but mine has to do with the Uncharted fan film that came out.
No, we haven't spoken about that at all in the podcast. Wow.
I love it. Again, obviously, it's not Hollywood quality. Admittedly, they've got Nathan Fillion, so it's not too far off. But I really just enjoyed the fact that somebody is trying to give Sony an indication that this IP would do really, really well as a stand-in for Indiana Jones, which no longer exists. Really.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And I think he plays the character really well in this 15-minute short film. The story's nothing complex, but it gives you the action that you want. It's got this really cool sequence where the camera swings behind the main actor like it is a scene from the game. Admittedly, you can only imagine how much better that would be with, the money that Sony could potentially throw at it.
Yep.
And I just really like that somebody's gone out of their way to make this for no real profit.
Yeah, no, I've actually got to sit down and watch that. I've seen articles on it everywhere.
Yeah.
I'm like, an Uncharted movie would be great. As you said, there's that sort of, space where Indiana Jones used to be in the movie calendar where you can go, oh, right, that would work really well.
Yeah.
And, yeah, I could even see someone like a Chris Pratt playing him,
Chris Pratt has a monopoly on just rugged, good-looking adventurers at the moment.
That's right. That's right.
So look, I really just like what they're trying to do with it.
Yep.
I like that somebody's, gotten off their own backside to make this happen, and just to give everyone an idea of what it could look like, the tone it could have. And there are a few ridiculous moments in it. He's doing the whole, hand on the head of a shorter enemy who's then, swinging his arms wildly at it.
Fine, no.
But,
they're fun adventure films. We don't have there was the Mummy movies years ago as well.
No, they're not fun anymore.
I know, but you know what I mean. That you can take the whole family along to and enjoy it, and they could do that with.
You cannot take the whole family along to the Mummy. My uncle showed me that film when I was 6 and my brother was 4. We had nightmares for months.
Well, for me, my love train is playing old school RPGs again.
Okay.
So, Octopath Traveler brought the nostalgia feels back, and then I jumped onto Final Fantasy VI again. Those old school ones were just awesome. Also games like Chrono Trigger, I'd love to play that again, which I should actually try and play again. But I just love the old school art style, the old MIDI music. I don't know, there's just something about those old games that just brings all the feels.
They have a charm. They have a charm, and it's amazing how even a simplistic art style can just make a game more accessible.
Yeah.
It's 2D, you don't have to worry about too much, and it's not heavy on action where you've got to be mentally prepared to just quickly react to either quick time events or dodge attacks. Turn-based strategy, easy.
Yep. All right, now on to the Hype Train.
Hype Train.
I was going to bring up the Xbox Scarlet. We already discussed that, but
bring it up here.
I'll bring it up in a different context, and that is the emergence of brand new tech that could change the way consoles are. Mm-hmm. It's no secret that I absolutely love my Nintendo Switch.
Yep.
On the website mustplay.net that I sort of run, or I'm starting to pick up on the side, or I'm basically a Nintendo correspondent because all I do is play that thing.
Yep.
And I think it's such a great idea that once Microsoft or Sony manages to perfect this streaming technology, could you imagine playing a game like Horizon or Spider-Man or something of that graphical fidelity and just take it anywhere?
Yeah, but if you don't have the internet, you're stuffed.
That being said, hotspot on phones has become incredible.
Yeah.
Data is now basically free on mobile phones. I can really see this changing the game. And we're still 2 years away from that.
Oh, yeah.
2 years plus. But I just think the notion that streaming is going to be the basis of gaming going forward, and I'm fine with a subscription service. I love Netflix and Stan and Spotify. I've got all of it.
Yeah.
Already pay for Xbox Live and PS Plus. I'll pay for the Nintendo one when it comes out. That's fine.
Do you have the Xbox Game Pass?
My brother does, yes.
That's amazing value for money.
Is.
It is ridiculous.
Exactly, and I think games as a service is going to change the way things are, and once streaming kicks in, it's only going to take it to another level. Mm-hmm. Because nothing frustrates me more than getting a brand new game and having to wait for it to install on my Xbox One.
Yep.
And if they can just make that stream... And that being said, the tech is obviously still a while away. We know what they did in Japan with the Nintendo Switch and Resident Evil 7.
Yep.
Clearly, it doesn't work the way we want it to just yet.
No.
But I still don't think the Switch has enough grunt inside it to facilitate it. So I would really, really like to see where Microsoft and Sony can take it with, state-of-the-art tech in 2-3 years' time.
Yep.
And I'm hyped for that. because the notion, I mean, I love my Switch. I take it wherever I go. Even I had to go to the doctor's office, briefly this morning. I was there waiting with my Switch. There's little kids looking at me like, oh, can I play that? And I'm like, nah, this is mine. You stay over in that corner with your lame book.
Yes.
So I would, I think it's ripe to be the future. Mm-hmm. And I don't enjoy gaming on my phone. So give me something that's cool and portable that allows me to play Horizon, whatever the next one's called, at
Horizon Zero Dusk. I don't know.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, right.
Horizon midday, just Horizon 10 a.m.
Yes. All right. Well, mine is Shadow of the Tomb Raider. I wasn't really hyped for this game at all, right? Because I hadn't really played through the other Tomb Raiders. I even played Shadow of the Tomb Raider at E3. Wasn't that hyped. Still, it wasn't until I finished part 1 and 2 that I went, oh wow, I'm actually really hyped for part 3 now.
Yeah.
Like, Carl's been going on about it for a while to me. And I've been like, I don't know, man. Like, yeah, no, I'm like, I'm in. Like, that's it. Yeah, I'm full in. September 14th that comes out.
Yep.
It looks awesome.
Which is pretty soon on the spectrum.
Yeah, like a week after Spider-Man. So September's a big month.
Yeah.
Like a very big month, which is going to be a lot of fun, but a lot of gaming. And yeah, I guess that brings us down to the end of the episode now, though.
No, not the end.
Yeah, that's right. That is the end. And as I mentioned, that those big AAAs are all going to start rolling out soon. So what we did here on Game Train last year, before all that happened, we ran an episode called Indie Centric, where it was just all on indie titles, giving them their time to shine before all your big AAAs roll in. So again, we're going to do another Indie Centric episode. We've got Indie Centric 2 happening next time on Game Train. So tune in for all indie stuff the whole time. We're going to avoid those big AAA titles just for an episode.
As long as you're talking about Overcooked 2, which comes out in like a few weeks' time. What, 2 weeks? Yeah.
Overcooked 2 comes out soon. There's a bunch of others. Moonlight, which is that little RPG where you set up a shop. We might have a look at that. Plus some others that we've been discussing, Carl and I. We aren't fully set on what we're going to cover yet. We're sort of throwing ideas back and forth. But you have to tune in and check out Indie Centric 2 on the next Game Train episode.
I'll be tuning in. So thanks for having me for this week, Carl.
Yes, again, thank you so much for filling in for Carl.
Anytime.
I'm sure we'll have you on again later in the year. Because I know Carl's got he's got an album launch later in the year, so he'll be unavailable.
This man's too cool.
I know.
What is he doing on this podcast? He just sounds so cool.
But yeah, so he's got an album launch coming up in September, so he'll be unavailable for a little bit, so we'll be getting in guest hosts again.
Beautiful.
But anything else you want to finish it off with?
No.
Cool.
Just get hype. Love Octopath Traveler. I'll keep playing it, and I'll let you know what my final score is in about 3 years' time when I finish it.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in again, and this has been Game Train.